This is a one-wheel. As its name implies, it is a one-wheeled electric skateboard, though it doesn't really have much in common with a skateboard other than how you stand on it, and it is one of my favorite things. I use this thing everywhere, on trails, on the beach, in the city. It actually replaces my car for short in-town trips, which is really convenient when driving your car actually means driving your house. I live in my van, just want to make that clear. But the one wheel has its limitations. It has a 20 to 32 mile range, which might sound like a lot, but my batteries are a couple years old, and I like to mostly ride this thing off-road, like I am right now. Both of those things put a decent dent in the advertised range, so in reality, I'm getting about an hour, hour and a half of riding on a single charge. But I have this weird dream of going on multi-day overlanding one-wheel trips, camping along the way. But it kind of begs the question, where do you charge this thing? I mean, I could ask to plug in at a gas station, but I want to be self-sufficient and take this thing on back roads through the middle of nowhere. Basically, I want to turn myself into a solar-powered electric car. Now, to do this, I need to design a solution that generates electricity, stores that electricity, and is portable enough to do both of those things while I carry it on the one wheel for multiple days at a time. Fortunately, I got an email a couple months ago from DJI. They wanted to sponsor one of my upcoming videos with their new line of portable power stations, the Power 500 and the Power 1000. Now this big boy has 1,024 watt hours of capacity and some really cool features like 140 watt USB-C charging ports, so I can charge my MacBook Pro directly without using the giant charging block. But it's a little big to take on the one wheel, even with this really cool carry bag that DJI also makes. But this little guy, the Power 500 with 512 watt hours of capacity, I think this might be perfect. Look at this, I can swing it around while riding the one wheel. They also sent me this folding solar panel that I can use to charge the power station. So we have power generation, power storage. Now we just need a way to make it portable. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Famous last words. All right, so here's the plan. I want to charge the one wheel as I'm riding it, so I'm gonna make a backpack rig that will hold the solar panels over my head like an awning. That will keep them in full sun as I ride, and as an added benefit, they'll keep me in constant shade, which will be really nice on hot sunny days. I picked up this old hiking pack from a used gear store. Check it out, $39. Literally the cheapest one they had. Has a bit of a personality, but I think it'll work perfect for this. The most important thing is it has an internal frame. There's rigid, I believe, aluminum bars in here that I can use to build out the canopy. Nice support, you know, I can carry the weight on my waist. Now, I could throw the Power 500 directly inside. It only weighs about, I'm sorry, DJI, I'm gonna butcher this. 7 pounds? I mean, possibly less. So let's see, if I put it in the backpack. Oh yeah, that's very doable. But I'm gonna have the added weight from the solar panels and the frame, and I'm gonna bring camping gear along the way as well. So keeping as much weight off of my back as possible would be ideal, and I had an idea for that. The one wheel has this fender that covers the wheel and stops mud and dirt from flinging up and getting on your pants. And I realized there's kind of the perfect amount of room here to mount the Power 500. Let's see. Yeah, there's plenty of room between my legs, especially if I mount it this way. Now my one wheel has this nice carbon fiber fender that I don't really want to drill into. So I thought, oh, I'll just buy a, cheap plastic one from One Wheel. $85 for a plastic fender plus shipping. And then I realized I got a 3D printer in there. So I took the fender off the one wheel, hung it off the back of the van, and used this really cool app called Polycam to create a 3D scan of the fender. This app uses your phone camera, its LiDAR sensor, and software to stitch together a series of photos into a 3D model. Now, I was trying to be clever by hanging the fender off of a string and rotating my phone around so I could get every possible angle, but unfortunately that kind of confused the software and it couldn't figure out what the correct orientation is, which resulted in a completely garbage scan. So for round 2, I just propped up the fender and only moved my phone around it. That way there's only one frame of reference that's changing, and I took 2 scans. One for the top of the fender and one for the bottom. This worked way better, but at the end of the day, it still is just a phone camera. Bespoke 3D scanners can cost thousands of dollars, so it's not the best resolution, but I think it should work for this project. Turning these scans into usable 3D models was quite the process. You can see here with the photo texture stripped away how rough these models actually are. Fusion 360 isn't the best mesh modifying software, but I made do. I took away as much of the extraneous stuff as I could, and somehow through a series of stitching, repairing, and various other tools, I converted these surfaces into usable solid objects. Now, my original plan was to combine the top and bottom sketches into one solid fender, but when I tried to do that, I realized how janky this actually is, getting 2 scans perfectly aligned in 3D space, 2 very imperfect scans at that. So I decided to only use the bottom scan since that's the one that has all of the important details and it just came out better, and basically recreate the curved part of the fender from scratch. Funnily enough, making things from scratch is actually my forte in 3D modeling, not messing with 3D scans. I think the biggest unknown here is the scale. I took a bunch of measurements and tried to adjust the scale as perfectly as I could, but at the end of the day, if it's off by like a percentage or 2, it might just not fit, but that's what cutting tools are for. Once I had the fender recreated as best as I could, I created a platform on top to hold the Power 500, as well as a bunch of reinforcement since it's basically a plate on top of a curved surface. Finally, I split the fender into 4 pieces so I could actually fit it on my 3D printer, and I think we're ready to print this thing. All right, I have not tested the fit yet. I'm super nervous that it's not gonna fit right because this was like 40 hours of printing and I really don't wanna have to do it again, so. All right, let's see. Oh, no rubbing. That's the main thing, baby, no rubbing. It is very much not perfect. You can see there's a big gap right there, but for the most part, it works. The wheel can rotate freely. I'm gonna have to drill the mounting holes because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to get those perfectly placed in the 3D model, but man, I think that's gonna work. Woo! Oh boy, that was nerve-wracking. Ooh, you know what? I should also check. Hang on. Oh yeah. All right. I don't wanna accidentally crack something. Let's screw this down. Even though the fender does technically fit over the wheel, I couldn't actually screw it down until I cut away some plastic. I think that's because I made the whole thing a little too big. My scale must have been off by 1 or 2%, but too big is a lot better than too small. You can always cut material away, but adding more material on is a lot harder. I got it really close in the end, but I still had to buy slightly longer screws, And after a lot more work than I thought, I think we got it. So the Power 500 fits perfectly in the tray, just like that. But I want to make sure it's nice and secure while I'm ripping around corners. So you might have noticed that I included these little slots. So I can loop through a truck strap, put the Power 500 on top. Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. All right, first official test. Let's see how this rides. Ooh. All right, visually it took a little getting used to at first. And riding on this big pieces of gravel is not the nicest riding conditions, but I think that's gonna work. Eden's looking at me with like her mouth open. All right, on asphalt, riding it is pretty good. It's a little shaky, to be honest. Like I feel like we get speed wobble at far lower speeds, but I think it just might work. Now we just gotta make the backpack rig. The backpack rig is built, the solar panel is on, and it is time to test this thing. All right, first step, can I get it on by myself? I put a sleeping bag and my hammock inside just to simulate the bulkiness. It will probably be heavier when all is said and done because I have to bring food, water, probably a camping stove, and who knows what else. Honestly, this does not feel crazy heavy. It's a little like awkward with how it sways, and I think that's gonna be the most difficult thing while riding the one wheel, is if it throws off my center of gravity. All right, here we go. Is this actually doable? Oh yeah! Honestly, it's like less heavy than I thought it would be. This is very doable. Yeah. Wow, this actually is going to work. I was worried that I might have to totally redesign this, but it's way more stable than I thought it would be. Oh my God, all right, getting off the one wheel. Doable, doable. Obviously I still have to like hook up the solar panels to the battery, but that's just a matter of a wire dangling. We're gonna be able to do it! It is finally time for the one-wheel overlanding adventure of my dreams. We are here in the Chappie Shasta off-highway vehicle area in beautiful Northern California, where there is over 250 miles of off-road trails. Honestly, the perfect place to do this for the first time. The backpack's a bit heavier because I have all of the camping equipment that I need. So that'll be interesting. Let's have an adventure. So I know this rig looks nice and light and agile, but believe it or not, oh my God, I'm already getting speed wobble. Believe it or not, it's a little cumbersome. So I'm getting warmed up on a nice paved road before I take it to the dirt. This is a marathon, not a sprint, so trying to not break anything. There we go, looks like my warm-up is coming to an end momentarily. And boom. It's so counterintuitive. I've always found this with the one wheel. For some reason, the ideal terrain for riding is exactly this. this like hard packed, fine gravel and dirt. In some ways, it's almost easier to ride on this than it is on asphalt. It's like you have more grip. You don't get speed wobble, which is, you know, deadly for a rig like this. We're doing it, baby! No! Oh no! Oh man, I just stopped for a second to get a shot with the Insta360. I accidentally like kicked the tray and this piece just snapped off. I think it should be okay. Like, I don't think I need to turn around and, oh, that's so annoying. I don't know, I'll try riding a little further to see if it actually matters. Dang it. All right, after a bit of riding, seems like it's not fatal. I think we're okay to continue. Well, that's not great. Oh man, I don't know if that came through on camera, but that happened while I was riding up this hill. Because I have so much weight on me, the one wheel really struggles getting up these hills, especially at slow speeds. And if I slow down too much, I start to spin out, which is what caused me to slip off and break the fender. So I'm stopped to sort of figure out how I'm gonna continue, as well as get a quick charge on the one wheel, because we are absolutely eating through battery with all of this weight. Now you might be thinking, Morley, you said you were gonna charge the one wheel while you're riding. Well, unfortunately...
Thanks for calling Future Motion. This is Rose.
Hi, I just had a quick technical question. I was wondering if it's possible to charge the GT while riding it?
Oh, we don't recommend you charge it while riding it. Also, I don't believe the cable is long enough to ride it like long distances while charging it. Right,
but if I had like a big external battery in a backpack, is it like, will the one wheel let me ride and charge it at the same time?
Let me ask. Hi, it wasn't made to ride that way, so we wouldn't recommend doing that.
It's not possible. The one wheel enters this charging mode when you plug it into a wall, or in my case, the DJI Power 500, and you physically can't ride it. It won't work. So what I'm doing instead is I have the solar panel hooked up to the DJI Power all the time. So it's charging while I'm riding. And when I stop for brakes, which I inevitably have to do because this is incredibly tiring, I can use the banked power to charge the one wheel. And it's actually more efficient than if I could charge the one wheel directly, because this solar panel is rated at 100 watts, which means in full sun and in ideal conditions, it can generate at most 100 watts of electricity. And as you can see from the readout, the one wheel charger takes about 200 watts. So let's say the battery was at 0%. I was riding, using the solar panel to charge the battery, and then using that energy to charge the one wheel. I actually wouldn't be able to do it because the one wheel charger would draw power faster than the solar panel could resupply it. So in the end, not being able to charge the one wheel while riding doesn't really matter. All right, I think I found a way to continue. It's safe to say that the fender is done. It was a good idea, but I just did not design it strong enough. It clearly has some fundamental problems, but I think its failure is kind of a blessing in disguise. Just like I alluded to early on in the video, I can actually carry the Power 500 directly in the backpack. It's gonna be a lot of weight on my back and shoulders, but I think having that weight there instead of on the fender is gonna make this a lot more sustainable. Oh boy, whoa. That is a lot. But I hope that the added benefit of not having the fender, the weight on the fender is gonna make it doable. All right, we're strapped up. Let's see if we can do this. Riding is definitely easier without the weight of the Power 500 there. All right, getting some speed to go up this hill. Woo! At this point, I should probably say don't try this at home. Oh boy, gotta watch out for bushes with this thing. All right, another big hill coming up. Let's see how far we can make it up. Well, if I lose all my speed, that's not gonna do it. I think I'm just gonna walk up this little hill here. It's not worth killing myself. Who would have thought riding an electric skateboard is like one of the hardest workouts you can get? Oh boy. Let's try that again. Oh boy, it's a lot of weight. At this point, just like walking up the hill seems the best thing to do. Wow, this is tiring. Oh my gosh. Making it up these hills is like nearly impossible. I even enabled the custom shaping mode on the one wheel that elevates the nose, and it's supposed to make going up hills easier, but I just can't get enough speed. I always just end up spinning out. I don't know what to do. I mean, I could walk it a bit. Let's just walk it a bit. Let's see. It's always like, oh, just around this bend, maybe it'll flatten out. But it just keeps going up and up and up. It eventually became clear that it was physically impossible to ride up some of the steepest hills with the weight of the backpack. But if I took the backpack off, I could make it. So I decided to switch to a shuttling technique, which got me to the top of this hill. And now we got a nice, flat, slightly downhill section ahead. And man, I'm looking forward to this. Oh my gosh, that is a dream. That is so, so nice. Oh, this downhill just keeps going, and it is lovely, but I can't help thinking that I'm gonna have to come up this on the way back. It's way less steep than the other side though, so that's a plus. The solar panel is in full sun right now, which is fantastic because the one wheel is definitely taking tons of energy to navigate these hilly dirt roads. So I have no fears that I'm gonna get, whoa! I have no fears that I'm gonna get stuck out here. I gotta say, I'm kind of getting the hang of it. I was able to get a fair amount of speed on the last hill and make it most of the way up before having to walk the one wheel. Things look kind of grim for a moment there, but this is kind of manageable. As the sun started to dip in the sky, I started looking for a camping spot to spend the night. And boy, oh boy, did I luck out with this spot. It is right next to a beautiful stream, which is absolutely necessary because I only brought this much water to save weight. Whoa, those fish are huge. Do you see those? There's like giant trout in there. Whoa, there's so many. Oh my gosh. Maybe I should have done my survival challenge here. So I can just scoop up water with my pot, boil it for 2 minutes on my camping stove to kill any pathogens, and unlimited drinking water. There's this little grove of trees which provides the perfect sheltered area to string up my hammock and set up my sleeping bag, but there's also enough open space down here so I can find a sunny spot to set up the solar panels and continue taking advantage of as much of the sun's energy as I can to charge the one wheel as well as all of my camera equipment. This adventure has been a lot more difficult and chaotic than I was planning for, and it is so nice having the DJI Power 500 reliably providing all of my electricity needs in the middle of the forest. The Power 500 can output 1,000 watts continuously, and if you need more juice, the Power 1000 can output 2,200 watts. Obviously, you can charge both of these power stations with solar panels, but if you plug them into a standard wall outlet, they will charge from 0 to 100 in just 70 minutes. With the increasing abundance of batteries in our everyday life and horror stories like batteries catching on fire on planes, I think everyone wants to know that if they're buying a big portable power station, that it's safe. DJI has designed and built these power stations with comprehensive safety in mind. They use lithium ferrophosphate battery cells that offer up to 4,000 cycles in a service life of up to 10 years. The physical body of the power stations are super strong. They can support 100 kilograms so you can stand on them no problem. And the internal software uses DJI's battery management system, which can prevent overcurrent, overvoltage, and over-discharge. DJI might be best known for their drones, and one really cool feature of these power stations is they can actually fast charge select DJI drone batteries. Now, I have a little Mini 4 Pro, which unfortunately doesn't support the fast charging, but if you have one of the bigger drones like the Air 3 or the Inspire or the Matrice, it only takes 30 minutes to charge one of these drone batteries from 10 to 95% using the fast charging function on these power stations. Check out the links in the description to learn more about the DJI Power 500 and Power 1000. Thank you to DJI for sponsoring this video and making this ridiculous adventure possible. So one of the things that excited me most about this adventure is, this is gonna sound so stupid, but I'm serious. It's these guys. I have always wanted to try these freeze-dried camping meals, and I've never done it because I've always loved camping and I've kind of prided myself on cooking real camp meals, you know, like grilling stuff over the fire. In fact, for my last challenge video, when I survived in the wilderness for 7 days with a 3D printer, I brought no food. I mean, look at that. That looks so good. I am so stoked to try it. Okay, so we got a few options. I want us to do a little taste test. Obviously, the breakfast skillet, that's for tomorrow morning. But for tonight, we have two options. We have Mountain House Adventure Meals, beef stroganoff with noodles. These are not cheap either. I think each of these was like $15. Second option, can you tell how excited I am for this? Chicken teriyaki rice by Peak Refuel. Now I'm gonna be honest, chicken teriyaki rice, that sounds a little boring. I think for tonight, I'm gonna go for beef stroganoff with noodles. All right, it says to add 1 2/3 cup of boiling water, but unfortunately I did not bring a measuring cup with me, so we're just winging it. Ooh, it already smells quite good. Close zipper. Wait 5 minutes. Bro, I'm so excited. This is actually, I can see why these are expensive. Like, these are legit ingredients. Beef, cornstarch, vegetable oil, sour cream, non-fat dry milk, onion, sea salt, seasoning, mushroom, brown sugar, lemon juice, yeast extract, white pepper, garlic powder. There's every ingredient on that list I can pronounce. Ooh, that looks like pretty good. Oh, I am burning the heck out of my hand right now. All right, it has been 4 minutes. Adventure meals, beef stroganoff with noodles. Let's see how it is. Let me show you a nice full spoonful. Okay, honestly, doesn't look super appealing. Beef stroganoff is a kind of a gray food, but yep. As expected, the perfect camping food. The beef's like a little tough, like it's a little jerky-like. Also, 2 servings, you know I'm eating the whole thing, come on. Mountain House Adventure Meals, beef stroganoff with noodles. I would give this, honestly, 5 out of 10. It's exactly what I expected it would be, nothing more, nothing less. The beef's a little tough, it's tasty, perfectly average. Not sure if it's worth $11 or $15, but I'm definitely enjoying it. What a day. After an unexpectedly exhausting one-wheel ride, I thought I needed some extra calories, so I cracked into the chicken teriyaki for dinner number 2. Oh, I definitely added too much water. I gotta say, it does kind of give like vegetable cup of noodle vibes. It's good though, like I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna upgrade my beef stroganoff rating to 6 out of 10 and give this a 5 out of 10. Every time I do one of these solo adventures, I just feel so grateful. Grateful that I get to be in this beautiful place and the weather's good, that once the adventure is over, I get to go back to our beautiful little home with Eden, Abby, and Penny, and grateful that I have the best job in the world that allows me to do stuff like this. Honestly, you guys make it possible. Thank you for watching because this is the best. See you in the morning. Ooh, this looks good. Ow. I just realized this is the same brand as the beef stroganoff. It's just their classic variant. What do computers, cars, and your mom's permed hair all have in common? They were all much bigger in the 80s. With that in mind, we've decided to re-release some of our classic recipes in pouches large enough to fit our nostalgia. This has How many servings does this have? This is 2.5 servings, and unlike the beef stroganoff, maybe this is because it's an 80s recipe, lots of ingredients I can't pronounce. That is hilarious. Enriched wheat flour, thiamine mononitrate, potassium sorbate, disodium hydrogen, pyrophosphate, all the stuff that makes processed food delicious. I don't know if that looks bad or good to you, but I'm excited. There's a nice spoonful. Oh, doesn't really seem like the eggs are fully hydrated. You know, I get the throwback branding because this tastes like an instant meal that would have been in my grandparents' house. Honestly though, other than the weird texture of the eggs, very tasty. I'll give that a 4 out of 10. Good fuel for a hard day's ride, but just a little too weird. All right, all fueled up. Let's hit the trail. Yeah, baby! Woo! I cannot believe this is actually going well. Riding on day 2 compared to day 1 was like night and day. All of a sudden, I was making it up hills that I had to walk on the first day. I was comfortably going way faster. It was almost like I had to relearn how to ride the one wheel. If you've ever learned a skill before, there's this crazy thing that happens after a night of rest where you wake up the next day and it just clicks, and that's what happened. But in the end, riding with all that weight on my back was so tiring that my total 2-day overlanding trip was only about 7 miles. And it got me thinking, what if I just threw the Power 500 in a backpack and clipped on the solar panel? Oh yeah, that is way easier. That's like nothing. I could go for days like this. I think next time I want to go on a long-range one-wheel adventure, I'll just do this. If you've watched my videos before, you might know that I thank my mom at the end of every video because she's one of my top supporters on Patreon, and that's the deal. If you support at one of the top tiers, I shout you out at the end of my videos. But I was recently revamping my Patreon, adding some new benefits, and I was looking through the list of patrons, I found my mom, and I actually discovered that Patreon has been marking her account as fraud for the last 9 months. So she actually hasn't been charged since like July of 2023, but I'm still gonna shout her out at the end of every video because she is one of my top supporters. And Mom, please don't feel the need to resubscribe to Patreon or fix your card. I am doing fine financially. Please, you don't need to give me money. I will still shout you out though because I love you. Recently got another new top patron, Luis Armendariz. Luis, please tell me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Thank you so much. Joining the ranks with my mom, Kathy Kurt, who's gonna stay at that list no matter what happens, and Paige Arlt. See you in the next video.